Well, the news came in. At least it's something good. As you read the title of this video, the Chrono set has been adjusted. Might as well jump into the topic now. So this was announced earlier in the morning, or I guess yesterday by the time this video gets released. This was obviously announced on our Discord server under the Fixes and Features channel, announcing the patch update 25.9.1. And in this patch update, it mainly included some bug fixes when it comes to a few melee weapons, specifically melees with the Super Punch attribute. Also, with most melees having the area damage or area of effect, some fixes for a few set effects, and finally the adjustment for the Chrono set. Now, a few players probably noticed the adjustments that the developers were doing behind the scenes. By that, I mean the changes the developers were doing in the process, which I'm more surprised they don't have like a private build of the game, because most of these changes were happening in real time, meaning that players could have at least experienced these changes. In my last video, I talked about the developers shadow buffing the Chrono set, mainly with the reload speed. And I was more surprised that the reload speed with this set really just increased most of these weapons to have mainly a sleight of hand or fast reloading. It would take a second or even half, depending on what weapons you use, to get the fully reload. Most players thought they'd decide to just buff it rather than nerf the set. That is until we managed to get the announcements as of recently, with it also mentioning the fix with the reload speed. Now it goes back to normal. Let's just see how they managed to adjust it, shall we? The adjustment with the set effect primarily focuses on, well, the iframes of it. What they decided to do is give the attribute a cooldown similar to gadgets, with the duration of the cooldown being 12 seconds. However, they decided to do is give more of an update to this effect. They decided to do is add more to it, being that with the community's feedback, mainly with like complaints and such, they plan to do is increase the cooldown of the effect to 60 seconds. However, the extended duration of the cooldown won't go into effect until next season. Can I say it again? I love suffering. But at the very least, with the good news, they decided to do is adjust it instead of having to ignore the amount of complaints that the community has been giving. Now, a lot of players were complaining about this being, why couldn't they just remove the iframes completely? Which I'm not even sure if they have the ability to remove one feature from a weapon set. Has there ever been a weapon set that's been reworked before? However, I do understand why most of these players have this in mind. On paper, having iframes in an FPS game does seem interesting. Being invulnerable for a few seconds in a competitive game can be pretty useful for the player. However, in execution wise, there's a reason why most FPS games don't necessarily have iframes, with the main reason being that it would be a difficult time trying to do is balance it with implementing many heavier restrictions so that they'll avoid being broken. Which is kind of surprising for Pixel 3D to not necessarily do is remove the effect, more like doubling down on it. It sort of had this effect in terms of being a replacement of the iframes, with most of these AoE effects mainly helping out with your teammate. I feel that the AoE effect for this set should be when your teammates are close to you, their mobility as well as their reload speed would increase, being much more of a support effect. But I don't even think this will even happen at all, which if that's the case, then that's pretty much the reality of it. But anyways, 20 more days of suffering here until the next season, or I guess the next update. But anyways, what do you guys think of this change? Do you guys agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Let me know in the comments down below. This video is going to be pretty short and quick here. But anyways, that's going to do for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this video was informative. I'm always keeping you guys updated with some important news about this game. But as always, have a good day, night, or whenever you're watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next video.